All right, other stories in the news. Can I get to this one? I'd love to get some calls. 808-5600, Open Line Friday. So this is Ross Mercarimi. He's the sheriff of San Francisco. Now let's just do a little backtracking. He was on criminal probation after pleading guilty in 2012 to a misdemeanor charge of false imprisonment stemming from an incident in which he hurt his wife in an argument, domestic violence. So state law bars someone convicted of domestic violence from possessing a gun, even if you're sheriff. After he served his probation, he was able to get these charges expunged, but the state law also says even if the conviction is expunged, you can't carry a gun, even if you're sheriff. Well, this guy still wanted to carry a gun. So he asked the sheriff's department shooting range master to schedule a marksmanship test. The range master, Sergeant Matt Haskell, asked the Internal Affairs Division to consult with the state's Department of Justice on whether Mercarimi could take the test. This guy just wanted to comply with the law, it would seem to me. So he's saying, hey, are you sure? I mean, as I read the state law, he can't carry a gun. So it's interesting because this 18-year veteran sergeant suddenly is transferred from the shooting range to a jailhouse post. Oh, it's a budgetary move. I gotcha. My guess is running the shooting range is that would be not just a cool job, but that's probably a coveted position.
Yeah, and you have a lot of responsibility on your plate.
Sure.
It's a huge safety position as well.
So this is the deal. He has this really nice job, a lot of responsibility, obviously really good at it, and you would get to know all the guys in the department very well because they all have to come down there for training on a regular basis. Now you're just kicked back to the jail. No, budgetary for sure, budgetary. Oh, and by the way, did he pass the test? No. Mercarimi failed. The sheriff can't even pass the marksmanship test. Now, what the sheriff's department spokesperson is saying here in a statement, the sheriff, like every other deputy, is entitled to practice at a firing range. No. September 18th, the day he was there, is qualification day. It's not go out there and practice day. It was an official shoot. If any of you guys on the force or gals have anything you can add to that story, if I got something wrong, if there's more to the story, please give me a call, 415-808-5600. That's the number on KSFO. All right, let me back up on this story because we got a couple callers here. A lot of you are just joining us, so here we go. Sheriff Ross Mercarimi. He's the San Francisco sheriff, Ross Mercarimi. I'm just going to back up a little bit for context. In 2012, he pled guilty to a misdemeanor charge of false imprisonment. You know, it's holding someone against their will, in an incident involving his wife and domestic violence. So he bruised his wife's arm during some type of argument. He pled guilty. He had the conviction expunged after he completed his probation. Now, during all this time, he hasn't carried a gun. He's the sheriff. He can't carry a gun because state law bars someone convicted of domestic violence from possessing a gun, even if the conviction is expunged. So he goes to the range to get qualified, I guess, the sheriff's department range at the airport. And the guy running the range, the guy's name is, let me get the name for you. Hold on one second because this is important. It's Range Master Sergeant Matt Haskell. Haskell's concerned, apparently, goes to the state and says, can this guy even take the test? And he couldn't get a direct answer from Internal Affairs about whether the sheriff is qualified to take the test. So now, suddenly, this guy who's questioning whether or not the sheriff should be allowed by law to take this test finds himself transferred from the shooting range to a jailhouse post, and he's told, no, this is just a budgetary move, So it's interesting. Haskell was attempting to determine the sheriff's legal authority to carry a weapon, and then he's transferred. And by the way, according to reports, Mercarimi couldn't even pass the test. He couldn't pass the test. He couldn't get qualified. So I got a couple guys on hold here, 415-808-5600. John called in first. John's on the peninsula. John, thank you for checking in. I'm assuming you're with the San Francisco Sheriff's Department?
Yes, sir, and your information so far is dead on accurate.
Perfect. I'm glad to know we've got the facts straight. But, John, I want to hear from you. What can you add to this story?
Well, you only need an 80 to pass. He didn't pass. If you don't pass, they give you 21 days in which to take a second qualification. During that time frame, you're afforded an opportunity to work with the range staff to improve your scores, to get better techniques. Don't know if that was done or not, but that's what you're allowed. Within 21 days, you need to take a second qualification. If you don't pass that, then it goes before basically a review board, if you will, to determine whether or not you're going to keep your job. Carrying a gun is part of the job. Post-certified officers in the state of California, PD, Highway Patrol, us, your post-certified peace officer standards of training. Your shoot is your job. If you don't have your gun, you don't have a job. And if you can't shoot, you can lose your job. It's called up to and including termination. Currently, there's approximately five people in the department who are in that status of Ross, where they haven't qualified yet. Somehow they haven't hit any kind of gate that would provide them with a disciplinary reaction, up to and including termination, including a chief deputy, Kathy Goldblum.
Okay, so what,
carrying
John,
a gun for years, and she's not qualified.
My God, I mean, that's
It's not a double standard. It's unethical. It's unethical.
And it's not safe, correct? That's an unsafe
not.
situation.
Absolutely not.
You're placing fellow officers at risk as well as the public, I would guess, correct?
Absolutely. And he ran because when he first ran for sheriff, he says, I'm post-certified. I received my post-certificate. I went to a police academy. I graduated #1 in the class. He's not law enforcement. He ran as though he was, but now he wants to back away from it. When you put on that uniform, the duty belt is part of your uniform, and on that duty belt is a gun. You notice when he puts on the uniform for his photo ops, that's all they are. There's no duty belt on. He wasn't allowed.
In fact, I'm looking at a photo of him right now in front of all the cameras. There is no duty belt on this man as he walks past.
That's
You're
a uniform
exactly right.
violation. If I did it, I'd be done. If I failed my qualification, I'd be done.
Okay, so then talk to me about this range master, Matt Haskell. I don't know much about the guy other than, he's an 18-year member of the force, and suddenly he's transferred from the shooting range, which is a very important position, to a jailhouse post. Not to take anything away from guys at the jail, but that seems like an odd move, and there's been no explanation other than it's budgetary. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, that's crap, because it's retaliation, and that should be addressed as well. What he did was he's required to do is make sure everyone is certified to take the test, and if they don't take the test, to move on to the next step. In this case, DOJ requirements have to be met. Post-certification depends upon accurate documentation. And I know him. This is not secondhand information. I know him, and he told me. He was told to mind his effing business by a captain at City Hall.
Man. All right, John. I really appreciate
my job. I better get off the air. If I want to keep my
that's
job,
fine.
I better get
You're
off
the
the
man.
air.
You're the man. John, thanks for calling. Here's Jason. I want to get to Jason's call. Jason, I understand you're also in law enforcement. Your thoughts on this story, please, and thanks for checking in with us.
Yeah. Good morning, guys. John, very well. He said pretty much everything I wanted to say, and he said it eloquently, and I agree with him. The only other thing that I wanted to mention is that, Sergeant Haskell absolutely did the right thing, and I have nothing but respect for the decision he made. He knew going into the decisions he was making, I need to clarify this with the state. He knew that he would potentially get demoted or get retaliated against, and he did it anyway. And that speaks to his integrity, and I think that's important for people to recognize that officers, they have this integrity thing that even if it will cost them their job, they're still going to do the right thing, and I respect them for it.
The law meant something to this guy, and that's what he was questioning, apparently, whether the sheriff could even try qualify based upon his conviction for domestic violence, right?
Exactly, absolutely.
Wow, Jason, all the best to you. Appreciate it. Katie, I knew this would happen. We've got all these great guys and gals in law enforcement listening to this show.
Yeah.
And we put out the call, and they respond with great information you will not hear anywhere else, period.